Um, but no, and then because of that, I think it's really useful for people to talk about their careers, but also how they got into business.
Hmm.
Because one of the things we talked about last week was that I think schools often teach too much and they put too much focus on the academics that actually
Hmm.
a lot of people aren't academic.
Hmm.
That, there are other options out there, that it's not all or nothing. So the more they can learn from different people, and ironically, a lot of entrepreneurs maybe, weren't the best at school. It kind of gives them that foresight that if someone else can do it, they can too. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
whereabouts did you grow up?
So I grew up in Stockton, Stockton-on-Tees.
I know it well.
Yeah, industrial working class town. When I was young, I had no idea what I wanted to be. Initially, it was going to be a police officer. Actually, that was always the plan. I was always a tall kid, and it was always the goal. Yeah, the police seemed a good move, and that was right until I went to sixth form, and then suddenly thought, do you know what? I think if there was ever any trouble, I'd probably run in the opposite direction. So I wouldn't make the greatest police officer. And then I got into I like creative writing, and I loved art, and I loved performing. Um, so somewhere around that was the ideal, that was the plan. But I think at that time, the career path was always you did school, GCSEs, you went to sixth form college. I then went on to art college, and then I went on to university. It was just kind of, as you
Mm.
say, there was no real careers advice there. So I went to university and I studied design, and the plan was to come away and be a graphic designer. And one of the modules on my degree was marketing, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Got a job in an agency when I left uni to do graphic design. And within 6 weeks, they came to me and said, we don't think you're going to make a great designer, but we do think you make a really good kind of account manager. What do you think? And it was like, wow, well, yeah, all right then. And the money was better as well at that time. So yeah, let's go for it. And I spent about 20 years in agency land,
Wow.
basically
You don't
working
look
for
that
the.
old.
Thank you. Well, that's the cue. Um, no, it's lots of creams and stuff. Yeah, 20 years, Teesside, Newcastle, Manchester, and London. And that was where the real joy, I suppose, in marketing came in, seeing our businesses. I spent 3 years working on client side as a marketing manager. And I spent 3 years self-employed, which was the first business I had, which was running an internet business. But apart from that, the rest of my career was kind of agency side.
Yeah, cool. Out of
Yeah.
interest, when you started in graphic design, was it pre-computers?
You see, you shouldn't ask a grown man questions like that. Yes, it was actually. I remember right the first day. As we started the university, it was all on huge, big drawing boards. So the graphic design department was on these huge, big, drawing boards. And there was a computer that sat in the corner of the room that people used to go and stare at and push buttons and things would happen. But ultimately, I think it was just a glorified word processor. And then within the space of like 12 months, suddenly you were getting more and more graphic designers in who were very computer literate and Mac literate. And then, yeah, obviously that's when the explosion came and everything was done on Apple Mac. But no, it was very traditional, the first agency I worked for. And yeah, and well, you see what happened since then. Yeah.
But it's funny. I've just got Louise Pot saying that a pre-computer. It's funny that with oh, so I'm an engineer,
Yeah.
and when I started, it was at the point where okay, computers were coming in, but it was still relatively new. But you were still taught to draw by hand, and ironically, I was really good at that. And just because even from when I was a kid, I loved to sketch and draw stuff, and it was just one of the things that I was kind of quite good at. And then, but I think realistically, I was always creative, but I didn't really realize it. But the thing that I love about the creative arts, if you want to call it that way, is the fact that you can play with anything. And actually, so many. I watched. I've subscribed to this thing called Masterclass, which is like an online app track thing where you learn. I've started one recently, and it's Wayne Gretzky, the ice hockey
Yeah.
chap,
Yeah.
but he's talking about the athlete's mindset. You have Gordon Ramsay teaches cooking and stuff. And there's a chap who teaches graphic design who's world famous, and I've forgotten his name, but regardless. But the point is, he actually trained as a sociologist. And I think sometimes you have, a passion and a creative outlet, which doesn't always align with your job, but actually, if it's what you do for fun, and almost, one of the things that I joked on my live stream on Friday when I was talking about how, finding something that you enjoy, this is my hobby. I love doing this. I love trying to figure out the lighting and the sound because it's the creative outlet.
Yeah.
And by the sounds of it, you had that. It was just it took someone to kind of hone it in and try and discover what was good for you.
Yeah, I mean, massively so. I think I always knew I'd end up somewhere in the creative industry somewhere, somehow. But what that looked like, I don't know. I mean, talking with my parents for enough at the weekend and this, so when I was a child, I used to create comics and stuff like that and plan clubs and all this. And, so there was always that there from a young age. But yeah, you're right. You can't put a creative mind down, can you, I suppose?
But that's what
And
I noticed this again at uni was that so I did mechanical engineering, which is very technical. But in a class of 120 people, on the technical stuff, the Chinese students would just blow the water. And they're so well drilled at following a
yeah.
process.
Mhm.
But as soon as you said to them, what do you think about this? Can you lead a team? What be something creative, whatever, they couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And it was just funny that almost when you find your niche, if you have creativity inside you, it's a real kind of superpower that not everyone has. That actually, it doesn't matter if you're a lawyer, a solicitor, or whoever, you can use it in different ways. And I think it's something that I think people don't appreciate, how important it is. It's as good, if not more important than say being good at maths or
Yeah.
whichever.